Hello guys, Resurrector here again. So I thought for the second video that it would be good to give you an introduction to the location I'll be creating for the first chapter of No One's Land. I say first because the second chapter includes all of the terrain which will be here, which is the main island of Missione, but the first chapter will be right on the border of it, including these two villages, these two larger structures, and several dungeons dotted about in this area. Okay, to give you an idea of scale, this bar is 1 kilometer across, so the playable space is about 4 kilometers squared. But that doesn't really say much without getting an impression of what the gameplay space is like, so let's zoom on down and take a look. So most of the human-to-human interaction will take place in these two villages and the two largest structures around. As to the history, the village here on the right was here first and has a fairly literate and agrarian community. You can see they grow much of their own food. The large building here is a combination of a monastery, a manor estate and a library, and up on this tower here you can see a wizard's tower. He's vacated the premises after a dispute with the monks, but you know, his building's still there, and it's one of the places you'll go. You'll also see over on the sides there are several other towers just like it. These are used as lighthouses, so if ships are approaching in the dark they don't crash into all of the rocks. But one of the major quests is to do with relighting them as the fires have gone out. A mage who did live here used to keep them in good upkeep, but has since left because of the dispute, and you've got to do something about that so that people don't get unnecessarily killed. This village on the left-hand side is a more recent addition, as political tensions between Tyriel's kingdom of Atara and King Radovold's empire of Karakheim grow more fierce. They decided a larger military presence on this particular entrance to the island was necessary. So much of the village actually comprises the women and the children who are wives of the soldiers who are stationed at the keep. It's sort of anticipated that rather than having a semi-permanent garrison where soldiers drop in and drop out, it would be better to have them live there and have a fostered sense of community with the place. As to whether that's actually a wise idea as time goes on, we'll see. Also, keen-eyed viewers may notice the shape of this building is quite familiar. I've decided to base the building, roughly speaking, on the Tower of London, which, despite its name, is not actually a tower, it's a castle, which has a tower in the middle. So, let's go down and take a closer look. So the island on the right here will be where the game starts, and you have your first interaction with someone just on this little pier here. You'll see the house pop in there, that's because it was on a different level. So you'll draw up, you'll say hello, and then you'll have a little mosey on up towards the village itself. So there's a small area down here which is left to sort of grow wildly. I'll be iterating on this, but there'll be a few fun games to play here, like hide and seek, maybe some combat-themed games with some of the villagers. The rest of the area is largely devoted to the fields which supply the food for the village. I wanted to give this particular side a very serene impression, so I wanted it to really communicate the state of mind of the people who live here. So I'll be working to make it a little less cluttered than the other side, try and create straight, clean lines, much like this, to give the impression I'm going for. The mountains there in the distance are to give a sense of the land that you've come from. So as you can see, this is very much a work in progress. I've just sort of begun to block out the different heights and such, and I've begun to block out this particular building. As I'm still putting the final tweaks to the first draft of the movement system, this will continue iterating quite substantially until it's done. I want it to be sort of a fun place to run and jump around, even when you're not under threat. Here, you notice that each of the mage towers is on a fairly large bit of terrain. That's because the internal structure of each one of these will form a dungeon, and that's where much more of the classical dungeon delving gameplay comes from. So, like sort of like nonsensical magic related traps, like skeletons and other golems which will be defending them, that kind of thing. Now, as we go over to this side here, we can see this level is in sort of a larger state of completion. That's because I've drawn in the demo map from the asset pack that I bought, and I'm using this as a basis to sort of get a sense of what this place will look like. I did this because I find there's some things which it's kind of, I don't have the necessary funds to visit a lot of these villages, so having pictures and something like this gives me an immediate sense of place. So for instance, the way this building overhangs gives me an idea of the kind of gameplay space that can be used. So a lot of this will end up changing, but I think it gives a good impression of what a competent level designer would attempt to do to make the environment look how it should, and doing so gives interesting gameplay possibilities. And I've decided to expand this over to one side and up onto the hill here, and then up into the keep itself, which is just blocked out quite roughly now. Well, so that's pretty much concludes the tour. As I said, this is my first draft of the environment, and the next videos will be showcasing the gameplay mechanics. Thanks very much, guys. So I had an afterthought, which was to give you guys an insight into one of the tools that I'm building in order to streamline the making of the villages, and when we get to chapter 2, the cities, which is this blueprint here I've made using the assets from the pack, which allows me to either completely procedurally or by choice construct a building. Now it works by building walls around this endpoint, so you can see I can drag it up to add new walls. I can drag it, new floors, and I can drag it across to add to the various walls. As you can see, there's a gap here, so it needs some work to fill in meshes. At the moment, I've sort of limited the size of it to 4-meter blocks just to make things simple to begin with. You can also specify the qualities of each of these wall pieces. So for instance, I could change this door out onto a window, and then I could change that one over to a door. And you can do this with all of them, or you can get it to set it randomly. You can also come in and move this point around, which will build the stairs for you and get rid of the bits of the floor necessary. And yeah, pretty simple so far. I'd like to add the functionality to build internal walls, and also to then decorate the rooms based on a quality. So you could say it's a dining room, and then it will set out the internal room so that it looks like a dining room. This combined with something which places these would make it trivially easy to construct large cities very quickly. And that's it really. Thanks, guys.